尊敬的各位家长、同学们，大家好，欢迎来到飞达教育升学规划教育讲座。在正式开始前，我们会稍微等待一下还没入场的学生和家长。飞达教育是美国唯一真正注重孩子们的素质教育以及全方位发展的教育团队，致力于从小培养他们的领导力、社会责任感、国际化视野以及对政治时事的关注意识。2004年，由毕业于美国常春藤名校校友魏新先生和斯坦福大学前副校长、教务长 Dr. Miller 等著名人士协助下创办。魏先生早年在华尔街从事人工智能金融系统开发，矽谷高科技公司成功创业后，全身心致力于教育事业，被家长誉为藤娃背后的推手。飞达教育在南北加有8个校区：Cupertino、Fremont、Pleasanton、Palo Alto、Arcadia、Diamond Bar、Irvine、San Diego。经验丰富的教育团队与专业服务，在升学规划、课外活动、大学申请等各个方面，为学生提供最佳选择。多年来，飞达教育高品质的专业教育指导，屡获美国各项专业机构的认可。2016年，飞达教育全球青少年领袖培育项目受美国总统义工奖认可，成为指定颁奖机构。2019年，不仅再次成为美国奥林匹克数学竞赛 AMC 考场，更领先业界获得 WASC SEP 认证，与私立学校合作，在飞达教育各大中心提供 WASC 认证的 AP 学分课以及 College Board AP 课最高认证项目。全美只有不超过2000个学校有开课资质的 AP Capstone Diploma， 包含 AP Seminar 以及 AP Research 课程。2020年再度领先业界，由飞达教育创始人魏老师集结最强文书指导团队出版大学申请文书集。本书汇集多年来辅导学生的写作指导精华，并透过实例帮助学生从题意的掌握、构思、修辞到理解写作的原理和技巧，对于有心加强写作训练的读者有很好的参考价值和实质帮助。飞达教育2024最新大学申请结果喜报频传，尽管今年名校申请率持续降低，飞达教育的同学在大学申请顾问团队的辅导下，飞达的学生们依然被常春藤等一流名校录取。飞达教育2024年大学申请已全面开放报名，特别针对11年级的学生和家长们，请尽快为您的申请提前做好准备。如果有任何问题，赶紧与我们联系吧。在飞达教育做大学申请的学生，从11年级下学期开始，就会和飞达专业的升学顾问团队开始申请学校的准备工作，和资深的文书写作老师开始作文的撰写流程。从选择题目、分析题目、写作素材的构思，学生们按部就班地跟着富有经验的作文指导老师撰写属于自己个性化的作文，为大学申请跨出成功的第一步。飞达教育针对每位正在准备大学申请的学生，除了安排专业的大学申请顾问、写作老师以外，还有表格填写辅导老师，以及每周线上 QA 时间，解决所有申请的疑难杂症。丰富升学辅导经验，加上专业以及细心的服务，每年都帮助我们的学生从容不迫地递交最完美的大学申请，获取最耀眼的录取通知。飞达教育 AP 学分课程、荣誉课程已经开放报名啦，微体 GPA 等你来争取。飞达教育与著名私立高中合作，拥有大学理事会认证的教师团队，提供 WASC 认证的 AP 学分课。我们开设的 AP 学分课程包括 AP 美国历史、欧洲历史、世界历史、AP 宏观经济、微观经济、AP 人文地理、AP 计算机、AP 统计、AP 生物、AP 环境科学、AP 物理、AP 中文以及 AP Capstone Diploma 的 AP Research 和 AP Seminar 等30门课程。想要提升 GPA， 为自己在大学申请上加分，请立即与我们联系。 如何在大学申请时展现自己在特定学科上的浓厚兴趣和专业的学术能力？如何透过一篇研究论文展现自己个性化思考与数据分析的进阶能力？飞达教育与 Franklin Foundation 合作推出了高中生科研实习项目，该项目结集了 Stanford、UCLA、UC Berkeley、USC、UCSD 等高等学府各个专业的教授导师，指导高中生挖掘自己擅长的科研项目。在前几期的项目中，学生们从确定科研方向、文献研究，再到科研实习，从浅入深地引领学生探索相关领域的深层知识，并且在结业时与不同研究领域的优秀人才一同在 Journal of Quantitative and Qualitative Research 上发表了自己的个人论文。这些经验不仅提升了个人写作能力，还成为了进入名校的敲门砖。表现优异的学生还将会有机会获得教授的推荐信。你想让自己的科研报告发表吗？感兴趣的学生和家长一定不要错过。IVMax 飞达教育小红书和 Instagram 平台开通啦！通过平台，我们会分享最新的飞达资讯，每周2到周5同步按时更新，其中包括中心分部、课程更新、活动预热、义工机会、学生社团活动展示，更有明星写作导师 Jackson 老师和有专业记者背景的 Sebastian 老师等，为同学们分享个人申请简历结构重点和文书写作心得等丰富内容。您想看的、该看的都在这里。中文分享小红书，请搜寻 IVMax Academy 飞达教育；英文分享 Instagram， 请搜寻 IVMax Academy， 或扫描屏幕上的2维码关注我们吧。关注飞达教育微信公众号以及官方网站 ivmax.com， 了解更多升学资讯。福利时间到，锁定美西时间每月第1个周五下午6点半线上公益教育系列讲座，由飞达教育资深顾问团队亲自主持，讨论眼下家长和学生们最关心的时事与教育话题。讲座结束后更有答疑环节，大家记住，每月第1个周五下午6点半，我们不见不散。谢谢您的到来。
Hello，各位家长，我们的讲座马上开始。亲爱的家长们，晚上好！感谢各位能从百忙之中抽空来参加我们飞达教育的第200期公益教育讲座。我是今天的讲座开场主持人天阳老师，同时我们还有另外一位主持人叫 Gia 老师。今天我们的主题是早生的最新趋势以及大学申请的策略。好，下一章。好，OK，这是我们今天的日程。第一是令人兴奋的和独一无二的课外活动课程。第2是早生的趋势以及策略。第3是理工科的竞赛优势。第4呢是我们无人机的社团、火箭队以及业余无线社团以及我们其他高质量社团的经验分享。下一个。接下来是我们本期的2位主讲嘉宾老师的介绍。第一位是我们的 Spencer 老师，他在 IVMax 从事升学和文书指导长达10年之久。第2位是我们的 Sebastian 老师，他和 Spencer 老师一样，从事升学和文书指导一样长达10年之久。大家可以先花一点时间先看一下老师的简介。OK， 我们到下一页。OK，下面让我们恭喜一下飞达的学子们在2024年度 的呃，恭喜我们的合作伙伴富兰克林高中的学子们顺利毕业。富兰克林高中是坐落在加大尔湾分校的私立学校，同样也可被称为 UCI 的 Early College Program。年级有覆盖从9年级到12年级，每年都为各大名校输送人才。好，下一页。下面又是一则喜报，祝贺 IB Max 的无人机社团晋级全国挑战赛。如果他们能在全国拿到名次，那会是一个特别有含金量的一个奖项。好，下一页。OK，请各位家长都看看仔细了，这是我们 IB Max 所独一无二的全球义工类项目，有飞往全世界各地，例如南美的哥斯达黎加、非洲的肯尼亚、尼泊尔以及中国湖南，所剩的名额不多了，请各位家长们抓紧时间。我们同样也会给予一些义工小时数，作为之后孩子申请总统义工奖的准备。好，我们下一页。接下来，住在尔湾以及周边的家长们，你们的耳朵可能要好好竖起来听一下。我们为 IB Max 孩子们创造了一个绝佳的机会，于本周六8号，也就是明天，会有呈现本地的议员 Scott Bob 进行竞选开幕仪式，欢迎大家踊跃积极的报名。同样也可以亲临感受美国的竞选文化，到场的孩子均有机会获得相对应的义工小时数。大家可以看一下这个海报，这是一个比较难得的机会，可以跟政治人物好好的近距离接触。
感兴趣的同学们，请扫二维码哟。
OK，我们到下一页。好，接下来是我们今天第一个主题，也就是早生的趋势以及策略。那让我们有请Spencer 老师给我们做进一步的解读。有请 Spencer 老师。
谢谢天阳，谢谢 Gia，听得到吧？OK，Thank
可以的。
you，欢迎也感谢各位同学和家长今天晚上来参加我们这个talk，我主要讲两个事儿，第一呢是这个早生 early round，第二呢讲一些大的趋势吧，我首先呢会从这个大的环节来讲，我们进入早生来开始考虑 EAED、REARD 或者是 Rolling Admission 的话，我们大概都已经是 Rising Senior 了，对不对？那么在这之前呢，这个长期规划的话，很多如果咱们家长还有别的小朋友的话，一般还是尽早开始更全面更长期性，然后更加系统的来做一些规划计划确实是赶不上变化但是呢，任何计划总比没计划好这是我的一个感想一个观察吧。早期规划能做哪些事情呢？除了选择学校，如果有选择的可能性的话，那更重要的就是说，在学校确定下来之后，公校、私校、校区，那么要考虑的就是这个课程的选择了。公校比较 inflexible 一点，私校的话相对来说 flexible 一点，但是也有例外。还有就是各种各样的课外活动夏校还有就是如果咱们同学们有自己的天分的话，音乐艺术体育都是可以鼓励的同时呢，你如果是9年级的话，我们也不知道，大部分情况也不知道将来就是一定要做某一个行业，一定要学某一个专业。一般我会说，全面发展重点突破全强学术上的然后呢， 有什么这个有特色的、有亮点的，咱们尽量突出一下。我们再回到这个 early round 这个话题，我们在考虑 early round 的时候，我们已经进入了，就是说开始做这个所谓的 college list， 就是说要申请的大学的名单，对不对？那在说这个之前，我一般还会说 junior year 之后的这个夏天非常重要，而且可以做很多事情。虽然那个申请那些高端的所谓的含金量高的这个 summer program 这个时间可能已经过了，但是呢，还是有很多可以做的事情啊。飞达这边的话 ，research program FRAP 我也一直在带学生而且我觉得效果是挺不错的。如果学生配合的话，我每年都有学生做这个，当然我也不会说仅仅是因为一篇论文就进了芝加哥大学或者是纽约 Stern，right？但是这个还是有帮助的了。暑假还能做的，待会那个 Sebastian 老师也会讲你可以多选个1门甚至2门 AP 课这个时候的用意呢，不是要满足你所在的高中的毕业要求，不是这个，也不是为了这个明年那个 AP 的考试进而在进入大学之后不用修这门课，也有学生有这种考虑去做，但是我觉得最大的考虑呢，就是把 GPA 再拉高一点因为这个成绩单的话会在秋季开学之前就会出来的。那么夏天的话，你还可以做别的事儿了，对吧？volunteer 的话随你了，leadership program 了飞达这边的话有一些比较高端的，刚才天阳也讲到到世界各地的这一种项目，但是这个项目每一个都是有侧重点的，是吧？有环保侧重的，有扶贫侧重的，有金融商业侧重的。不同的话题吧，但是基本上我都会说是 Swiss Army knife 你可以尽可能的把你所做的事情跟你将来想要申请的专业结合起来这就牵涉到又回到同一个话题，学校单子的制定。学校单子的制定2个事情，第一呢，学校本身，对吧？UC 的话9所你选1所，但是 UC 的9所里边还是有学问的。UC 的话，它9所里边自己就有一个上中下，不是吗 ？Berkeley 跟 UCLA 基本上是藤校级别的UCSD 这些年越来越难。然后呢，SD、SB、Urban、Davis 再加上Santa Barbara，这个你可以算是中端的吧下边的话 Merced、Riverside、Santa Cruz，Merced 去年的新的排名已经走到前60了去年的这个排名，就今年的排名，2024年就是整体上功效大幅度的上升。这是一个学校单子的确定，我一般会说考虑几个因素了。这个取决于咱们同学们自身的硬件和软件。硬件呢，就是学术这一块的，你的 GPA、你的 SAT，你的那个 class rank。有些学校是公开的，在 transcript 上写着的，有些呢连学生自己就不知道 ，counselor 是知道的 ，college admission 也会知道的。这些的话基本上是所谓的硬的东西了，对吧？当然也有很多别的硬的东西。你做比赛的话 ，competition math 有 cycle， 这些都是实打实的东西，不是吗？最不济，我不是说最不济，我只是说相对来说比较容易一些。官方认证的 official recognition， 比如说 scholastic，right writing painting poem what not，right？如果你有体育、音乐、艺术方面的特长的话，也都是加分因素吧。还有一个就是所谓的科研能力了 ，research， 对吧？大学申请一般我会说3个要素了。第一呢是 ranking 里边有分很多了，对吧？你有综合性大学的话，那个整体的综合排名。你对某一个专业铁定心的话，你再看一下专业排名，对不对？如果你或者家长不排斥 liberal arts college 的话，也可以考虑，还有自己的单独的排名。Ranking first, second location， 对吧？ 哪个地方。location 的话，很多时候是跟那个 job market 或者说 network 直接相关的，对吧？你去 Boston 走一趟，哈佛跟那个 MIT 在挨着呢，那个女校叫什么 Wesley 的也在旁边，隔条河就是 Boston University、Northeastern、Boston College 一串学校，对吧？相对容易的多了。你去哥大跟 Barnard College 基本上是一个学校了，所以 Barnard 这么火。location 的话，另外一个就是就业市场了，对吧？对于咱们西部而言的话，除了 UC、北加、南加，基本上都是西雅图那一块儿。中西部的话，芝加哥，南部的话，德州大概就是 Houston、Austin 那一块儿。东部的话，Boston、New York，你再加上 DC 有那么一两所，新英格兰，再往南走就到北卡了，对吧？North Carolina、Chapel Hill、Duke、Case Western Reserve，对吧？有几个也不错的学校，南方的 Georgia Tech，Purdue，等等等等吧。你基本上看到这个 cluster，咱们叫什么聚落是吧？一个群一个群似的，这个基本上跟就业市场是紧密相关的。Florida 有两所很不错的公校，每年都有学生申请，但是我从来没有看到学生去的。那是养老的地方啊，阳光啊，海滩呢，对吧？你太年轻了。还有呢，就是除了 ranking location，下边一个实际上跟 location 也是直接相关的，就是 tuition 或者是费用的问题，对不对？对于咱们大部分家长而言，这个区别就在于 UC 跟不是 UC 的学校的区别，对不对？不是 UC 的私校的区别。州内州外的话，外州的公校肯定比咱们 UC 要贵，但是呢，公校的学费的差异也是比较大的。Florida 相对便宜一些，但是私校的话，全美国的话，说实在的，基本上6万吧，对吧？我只是讲 tuition，不讲那个 accommodation、boarding 等等，费用是一个考虑了。这是咱们选取这个学校单子的时候大概做一个考虑。还有一个我简单提一下，我觉得蛮重要的，就是 stratification。什么意思呢？田忌赛马，你要选个上中下。对于10%的非常强的、全强的那个，可能这种策略性的考虑不需要那么多。但是对于绝大部分80%-90%的同学们而言，这个考虑我觉得有时候还是比较 decisive 的，对不对？这里边主要的 trade off 是这样，是专业的选择。除非你对 CS 或者工程就是非学这个不可，一般情况下都是可以，特别是私校里边，公校里边 Berkeley、Michigan、UW 就是在西雅图那个，这些是公开说他们会优先考虑本专业的学生。但是我有一个前年进 Berkeley 的，他学的是 sociology 还是什么，现在最近我听他听一些熟人在讲，他也改学 CS 了，看来也不是没有可能。4月份我在 Boston 的时候见了几个学生，MIT 的有一个很优秀的小孩，他是数学前60全国的，然后数学专业进的 MIT，也是EA，有 EA 的 top 的学校不多，但是里边最高的就是 MIT，MIT 只有 EA 跟 RD。他现在在学 EX， 什么叫 EX 呢？ECS。我同时还见到另外一个学生一样的情况，在 NYU 就更好玩了。有一个我当年带出来的学生，那时候他升的专业是 government，因为我本人也在大学，现在也在大学教这个政治学美国政府所以当时我们一块儿做的这个申请。现在他转到 Stern 去了，然后他跟我说，当时我们看的这么严重，人家不 care， 只要你满足人家的要求就转了。USC 的话转专业更容易一些，虽然对于一些热门的专业非常有竞争性的是有一些限制。USC 公开说的是商学院、电影学院跟那个建筑学院，它甚至工程学院都可以做一些 exception 的。 私校一般来说，这个专业，就是说，我是比较 flexible 的啊，有换几次专业的。我是在一个比较 lower 的 tier 的大学教书，我印象很深刻，就是说，几乎每一次如果是大一的新生，我问他1/3都是没专业，他啥也不知道。但是一般我们在申请的时候，我不太鼓励这个不用专业因为除非你超强，对吧？我也遇到过类似的情况。但是呢，你像大部分学校都会问你为什么想在我这个学校学我这个专业，对不对？UIUC 很典型，是吧？他还让你列一个第一专业、第二专业等等等等。专业，然后呢，我们再来谈今天的主题，就是所谓的这个early action、early decision，还有一个叫 restrictive early action，这是3个所谓的早生的，对吧？都是 early，共同点在哪儿呢？基本上截止日期都是11月1号，对吧？那发榜的日期呢？ED 的话 ，early decision 发榜的比较早越高端的学校越早，12月15号左右，16、17、18，基本上哈佛、MIT、Cornell 全出来了，Virginia 都出来了early action 这个话取决于学校，有些到明年1月份甚至2月份才出来但是 regular 的 decision 出的都比较晚了3、4月份出来是很正常的。所以呢，共同点的话就是说 early 在哪？第一个呢，截止日期早；第二呢，放榜日期也早，对吧？还有呢，最大的区别，我先把 REA 就是 restrictive action 这个单说几句，然后就把它剔出去。为什么呢？只有1把手的学校有 HYPS， 再加上2所 ，OK， 不是5个手指头，是6个。哈佛、耶鲁、普林斯顿、斯坦福，再加上 Caltech 跟 Notre Dame， 就是圣母大学，对吧？一般的情况下 ，HYPS 任何一个录了，我们的看法可能就是那就算了，不申了，对吧？这还不够好吗？对吧？但是我前年有一个学生确实是 REA 哈佛已经进了，然后他把剩下的一大把又都申了，又都进了。I was like, wow, you know. Anyway，所以 REA 的话，我简单说2句。早申请但是这个的区别是在于它不是班顶的，不是班顶的，就是说录了你可以不去，但是我们一般会说哈佛录了你还不去对吧？同时呢，它另外的限制是这样，大部分学校每个学校的 REA 不太一样，哈佛的是说的是你不可以申这个别的有班顶的学校第一，第二，你还不能申别的这个私立大学的 EA， 对吧？ED 就不用提了，对吧？你比如说你就申了哈佛的 REA， 那你就不能再申斯坦福的 REA， 对吧？你也不能再申这个别的私立大学的early action，比如说 Santa Clara， 对吧？但是呢，你可以申别的大学的别的公立大学的 early action， 比如说 Michigan， 对吧？这个，因为就那么6个所学校，我先把它讲一下，然后拿出来就算了。咱们重点是 early action、early decision，而且重中之重是 early decision， 因为 early action、early decision 的区别在哪？early action 不班定就是你录了爱去不去，对吧？那这样的话，那咱们的空间就大得多。一般我不太建议学生申请太多的 early action， 是因为你11月1号，你重点应该放在你的 early decision 上。early action 你申个2所、3所可以，但是那个 workload 会很大，对吧？有 EAED 的学校基本上都是需要写文书的，有例外，比如说 Northeastern， 但是大部分就是都是需要写文书的。那家长同学们可能关心的一个问题就是录取的 chance 的问题就是录取的概率的问题。我这么说吧， EA 的话 ，Early Action 的话几乎没有差别，稍微高一点点，就是跟那个 Regular Decision 相比，但是基本上都是在个位数之内的。那 Early Decision 非常不一样，是吧？最低的也应该高十几个百分点，最高的话3、4倍呢。Claremont McKenna College 我之前也在那边工作过一阵子，Regular Decision 是10%，Early Decision 是30%，这个差的很大的吧？你这个同样你看到别的藤校也是这样，2倍、3倍的差别，Cornell、Penn，对吧？为什么？2个原因，第一，因为这是班定的，录了你必须去啊，对吧？那这样的话，这个大学里它也有这个 incentive，它有这个动机目的啊，来把这个只要你 qualify 啊，对不对？第二，大部分同学在申请 ED 之前也都是经过 self evaluation 的，对吧？自我掂量过的。我一般给的建议是这样 ：early decision 2个标准。第一 ，no regret，因为录了你必须去，虽然你也有跳票的可能，但是比较难操作，动不动你上黑名单了多不好，对不对？第二，你得知道，you have a shot，OK，要不的话整个就浪费了，对吧？你明知道，你比如举个例子吧，UPenn 的 Walton 跟那个 NYU 的 Stern，这个根本这个差得太远了，对吧？有时候很难做决定的，有时候实在是做不了决定的话，我们也有一些情况直接放弃了。因为那个班定那个 ED 那个班定太强了，就是录了你必须去。这个每年我都遇到类似情况。ED 的话，同时它还有那个 ED1、ED2 的区别，对吧？实际上2个都是会增加这个录取的几率的。这2个的话，对增加的都是挺多的。EA 的话，一般增加的不是那么多啊，真的。Michigan 的话，他说的很明白，除了那个 Russ 商学院，其他的基本上跟那个 regular decision 持平了。但是有几个我们基于经验，我们觉得这个 early decision early action 的话，它那个录取的几率还是相对要高一些的，没有高到十几个百分点，但是相对要高一点。比如说 UIUC，普渡也是，Pepperdine 也是，Santa Clara 也是，Georgetown 的话，这些年我看不出来区别，嗯。OK，还有一个是这样，那我重复一下，或者总结一下，或者用总结重复来强调一下，就是 ED 一定要慎重选择，用得好的话，真的是能够增加这个不少这个入学的几率的，对吧？EA 的话相对来说要比较轻松一点点了，就是因为它难班定嘛。在一个有 EA 的学校 ，Early Action 的学校呢，高端的不多，有像我刚才提到的 MIT Michigan Georgia Tech Purdue UIUC Santa Barbara Santa Clara and Pepperdine University of Wisconsin University of Virginia 有几个大公校吧，大概对，就这么几个。私校也还有一串有 ED 的学校呢，一般来说是比较高端的，你可以看一下就知道了。ED 的话，他有这个自信嘛，对吧？他觉得他可以吸引到学生。很多 liberal arts college 也都是有 ED 的，Claremont McKenna、Pomona、Amherst 都有的，Swarthmore。我希望我讲的比较清楚了，EA、ED，两个都有用，两个都有用我看有家长在问两个都有用，但是呢，ED 的话效果更明显，效果更明显。OK，那我这就算一个单元，我可能讲的太长了然后那个天阳，我可以回到那个 trends，然后我很快过一遍，好不好？再往上还有吗？再往上。 OK， 下一张 please。这些是一些这个最近的新情况，就是说这个高端的学校很多都开始恢复这个对标化考试的要求 ，SAT、ACT。这个单子你看我们做的已经很 update 了。我刚刚又查了一下，哈佛今年也是跟耶鲁一样，他要 SAT、ACT，实在没的话，那你用 IB、AP 成绩也可以。就是换句话说，就是越来越多的学校开始要求了，把它变成了硬性的了。之前有 test optional、test blend，等等等等。现在你看到 MIT、Georgetown、Georgia Tech、University of Georgia and Florida 这几个非常 hardcore，除了疫情我记得是第一年，其他的他们都要的。这些是非常这个 hardcore 的。你看最近是耶鲁、布朗、大莫斯，加上我刚才说哈佛也开始了 Caltech 这个事情我知道，是因为我知道有些校友在抱怨呢，说你再不恢复，我就不给你捐款了。我认识有几个人，后来还是起了一点作用，所以还是应该蛮重视的，特别是高端的学校。虽然 UC 还有这个，就是说他是不看你的 SAT 成绩，但是其他的大部分学校 SAT 有一个好成绩，还是蛮有用的。第二个呢是高等法院，美国高院这个判决，我是教政治，在课上，美国政府课上也老讨论这个事儿。我的看法是这样，这个对咱们亚裔影响真的不大，几乎一点没有 ，practically speaking，OK，因为他那个留了一个语笔，是吧？就是说，我们一般讲，我自己的总结 ，diversity、adversity 加上基本上就是两个吧 ，diversity and adversity，这个我们基本上都不算的，什么意思呢？对吧？我们不是 underrepresented minority。这个的话，如果我在另外一个讲座讲的是那个加州的大学这9所，这个录取的趋势非常明显，UCSD 跟 UC Berkeley，这2年亚裔的录取率往下走的非常大，超过10%，有些学校高中的话20%。Quest Bridge 这个是针对低收入的，这个也确实是这样。我每年都有学生啊，也很优秀的学生，家长或者是开餐馆的，或者是在餐馆打工的，还是很争气的。有些有些你可能没听说过的地方，靠着加拿大的地方在那边开饭馆，他们录的确实挺好的。成绩的话，他确实是照顾这个。低收入家庭，这个是有的。UCSD 最近的新政策呢是明写着的。OK， 下一张天阳。天阳，我还有多长时间？还是我已经 overtime 了？
你还可以。
Spencer 老师，您还有10分钟。
OK，那下边的话，这些的话，对于咱们就是说已经开始做 homework due diligence 的家长和同学来言的话，这个怎么说呢？就是众所周知的，申请的平台的话，对于咱们加州的学生，一个是 UC 他自己的平台，另外一个就是 ComApp，基本上这2个平台就够了，对吧？那当然 MIT 啊、Georgetown 啊，它有它自己的网站，它不用 ComApp，至少前多少年它没用。越来越多的学校在加入 ComApp，其他的谈到这个申请的平台而言的是这样，因为 ComApp 给你20个 max 20个，对吧？如果你想多申的话，那你有些可以通过他学校的网站直接申呢，很典型的吧，对吧？还有一个就是这个种族因素的话，刚才我们讲高等法院，然后又讲 UC， 基本上对咱们是不利的，对吧？所以这个时候我会觉得这个策略性更重要一些。OK，最后一个的话，对，照顾低收入这个是有的，但是呢，这就牵涉到一个另外的话题，就是要不要申请奖学金的事儿，对吧？一句话的回答是，确实是会有影响，对大部分学校。如果不是那种非常的 outstanding 的，对吧？你举个例子吧，NYU 的话很贵，一年大概10万了。那他说的是，对吧？只要我们录你，你就不用考虑钱的事儿。很多大学都会这么说。但是他录不录你呢？对不对？是不是？有影响，这个需要看那个具体的学校而言。下一个 please。 这些的话是这个飞达或者 IVMax 的学生的大数据了。嗯，几个事儿。第一呢，这上面的比例，我自己带的，因为每个老师带的学生，可能我的sample比较小，我每年大概有20个、24个学生的样子。我能看到的，我自己带的学生大概一半儿12个、十几个，有时候超过一半儿，基本上 early decision 如果选得好的话，基本上都走了。就是说，圣诞前就搞定了，对吧？但是大部分我们还是要等那个 UC 的，对吧？所以 early 的话，你要选得好的话，对吧？可以省，也可以省事儿，就是说不用这个坚持到底了。你把 early 申请完，把 UC 申请完，OK，然后你12月15号就拿到一个心仪的大学的通知书，下边就不用干活了，就申请这一块。AP 科目的话，我见过的最多的，去年有一个 CGQ 的学生，他也在我 AP 课上过，很厉害的，他修了18门。前年有一个Urban 的女孩子，就是我说那个拿了哈佛的REA，然后呢接着把别的学校全部拿下的那个，她修了17门。这些的话，一般你在学校的话，你可能取决于你的高中啦，对吧？你除了可以利用一些网络资源的话，刚才天阳老师也讲过，待会 Sebastian 老师也会讲，你可以在飞达修一些AP 课。还有呢，average GPA 的话，这个的话，我会这么看了，嗯、因为公校跟私校很不一样，私校里边每个高中都不一样的，对吧？我一般会用那个 UC 那个网站上有个公开数据，我会去那边查你所在的高中前10年的录取的UC 每个，我一般从 UCLA Berkeley 开始看起，一直到最低的，大概是在4点几那个档，对吧？然后我拿这个来做一个 benchmark，我大概知道，就是单看学术的话，不讲一些别的 bonus，咱们自己有一个相对的 relatively kind of accurate guesstimation. Set a benchmark, then you pick the college, make your college list. Frankly research 的话，这个我可以讲很多了，因为我确实有一些不错的学生不错的论文不错的成绩，最后录的也非常好。有些家长会问，OK，你们这个刊物啊有没有这个是什么 high index 啊？有没有上这个那个的排名？我说这个有那么重要吗？第一呢，你觉得那个 college admission 会真的觉得你这篇文章能拿诺贝尔奖吗？当然，你要是实打实的话，那个确实是非常 admirable。但是我大部分情况下我会这么说了，他看一下，因为很多时候你能放到申请application form 上面，最多是一个链接了，对吧？一个 link，有时候可能放一个 abstract。那你写了一篇5000字或者10000字的论文出来，你的选题很好，你做了理论，你又做了实践。这我觉得就很好了。你有一个 good idea，然后跟你将来的专业方向也有关系，有一个 alignment。刚才我讲到，不要对专业那么执着，特别是在申请这个阶段，特别是私立大学。但是呢，在申请的阶段，我希望是能够看到一个 alignment，你的选过的课程、做过的研究、实习的，对吧？So that you are really into it。OK，那我就简单说一下，天涯，你想让我讲这个吗？
Spencer 老师，您还有2分钟时间，然后
啊，
这个是您最后一页，
那我们回到那个前边吧。这些的话，刚才我也都讲了一些，再往前，再往前。OK，这是我这2年带的学生，应该是2022到2024。 当然这里边会有 double counting 的，我会这么说的，但是整体上是很好的。学校的选择、专业的确定、文书、idea 到最后表格，对吧？我觉得这是一整套的工程。我举一个小例子吧，这是前年的学生吧，他 SAT 970分，当然不要报了，对吧？AP 的话就那么2、3门，AP 前历45分。当然这孩子怎么说呢？挺好的一个孩子，就是喜欢化学，一心的想学化学，但是他 AP 的 chemistry 也只考了3分，他还有另外一个 AP 前历史加上个 AP calculus 吧，那个倒是拿了4分5分的，我这么跟他说的，因为很难，有时候我说你们必须做一点妥协啊。你要是直接升那个化学的话，这是硬拼的。那我们就做了一些这个，我叫是 diversify 这个 risks。一半的学校你升你想学的化学，另一半的学校你可以选一些比较软一点的专业啊。最后的情况，你看他 USC 都进了，UCSD、UC Davis 全进了，但是呢，普渡的化学系开始是被低分，最后就被拒了。我只是希望就是说，因为你要是最后去私校的话，人家不 care 的，对吧？成啊，I'm done 。Yeah, I've done talking. Perhaps you can move on to Sebastian.
Thank you so much, Dr. Spencer Fong. Okay, so we're moving forward next to slide and next speaker, our Sebastian. So let me introduce a little bit about Sebastian. He is a great instructor and a counselor at FMX, and his students were successfully admitted to Columbia, MIT, Stanford, Brown, Dartmouth, etc. And he's very passionate about youth education, help hundreds of students go over to their dream schools. Okay, welcoming Sebastian, I will have you take the floor.
Thank you very much. Let's just jump into it. So the topic of what I'm going to talk about today is mostly the kinds of extracurriculars that can lead to being competitive at some of these top schools that we've been talking about tonight. And there are many ways to do it. And so many students and parents are looking for, a magic bullet or a secret formula to get there. And there isn't one. There are certain strategies that we can begin, and then we let them take shape. So when we are looking at the kinds of, student clubs, school clubs, outside of school clubs, the advanced level classes, community college classes, those kinds of things, there's very often, almost always, at least some impulse, some desire to do as much as possible. And that's not the way that it works anymore. That was, more true 10 years ago, sure, even a little bit 5 years ago. But with the fact that there's so much more competition, all of the changes that Spencer was talking about in terms of the Supreme Court and the different percentages of the different demographic groups that are applying, it's just not the same landscape anymore. And so we have to be more targeted and specific for the reasons we do these extra things that we do. So the question of every day, I have students and parents that are asking me well, should I take this class or should I join this club? And that's not the right question. If you think in terms of should, you're going to end up getting paralyzed because you have so many options, and it means that you're trying to fit a predetermined mold, and that's just not going to work. So instead of saying, what should I do? You should ask, what can you do? What are the options that are available to you? What are the skills that you have and the interests that you have? And then you have to force yourself to try as hard as you can to quantify, to measure, to define very precisely why you're doing that thing. And eventually, there's so many ways to define that, but eventually it's going to come down to the result of doing a thing, taking a class or joining a club. What is the result, right? And we all know that teenagers are very mercurial, and they change their mind all the time. I think almost every student I've ever had has either changed their major 2 or 3 times or considered changing their major like 10 times, right? So we can't predict exactly what the end result is going to be. But we do know that if we define the value as much as we can for every choice that they have, that eventually that must lead us somewhere good. You have to make your choice, and you have to trust that it's going to end up going somewhere that is useful and valuable for this final equation that the colleges are looking at as they determine whether or not you're going to get into that school. And that can be a little scary sometimes for students and parents both, and honestly sometimes even for counselors. But it is a matter of trust, and we just have to have the trust that through communication, through spending the time to evaluate each choice individually and measure the value that it adds, we will get somewhere good in the end. So we have to have a willingness to let plans change and adapt. We have to measure the value of everything along the way. And we have to try to understand, how does adding this class or joining this club, how does it change the direction that we're going? Does it accelerate it? Does it shift it in a whole new direction? Does it strengthen the skills and knowledge that we're getting, right? And sometimes I make a list, and you evaluate those based on the best options available. So we'll look at the AP classes. Next slide. So the value of AP classes. They are honestly, it's going to be different from school to school, and honestly, it's from different for student to student as well, and different for each of the universities that you're applying to, right? So the AP classes does not weigh the same for all of those different groups. It is going to be different. But we do know that at a minimum, at least, the very least, we know for sure that taking AP classes, it proves that you made the choices to be as rigorous and to challenge yourself as much as you could, right? That is a value. We also know that there's the value of the competition. It's just a fact that you're competing against the other kids in your class at your school. You're also competing against the rest of the world for the university, but it starts with your grade at your school. And so if all the other top kids are doing X, Y, and Z, and you don't do something similar to X, Y, and Z, that puts you at a disadvantage. So taking AP classes, it establishes your rank alongside your classmates. There's also the numerical boost to your GPA, and GPA means different, has different weight for different high schools and at different universities. You can never perfectly predict every single application, but in general, obviously, the higher the GPA, the better. So boosting your GPA is a good thing. Letters of recommendation are more important than most people want to acknowledge, because it does leave, as counselors and parents, it's the one part where we're powerless, because the teacher writing the recommendation, we don't have any control over that. But we do know that a letter of recommendation from a AP or advanced class is on average going to be more impactful than a letter of recommendation from a regular student. So every time, the past couple months, all of my students that I'm counseling, we're having all of these discussions about which classes to take for the next school year. And that has to be part of it, is, the teacher that is teaching that class, what do you have a relationship with them yet? What is that relationship? What kinds of letters have they written for the previous classes? What is their willingness going to be, right? That is part of the evaluation of what is the value of this AP class. And then you have AP exams. And there's a lot of debate about how important AP exams are and those scores, right? There is not a magic number that they must take 12 AP exams or anything like that. It's a question of having the opportunity to take an AP exam. Did you do it or not? And if you didn't take that opportunity, what does it say to the college? And if you have a whole bunch of 5s and 4s, that obviously is going to look better than 3s and 2s. And so the AP exams themselves have their own individual value. And there are cases where some students, for lots of reasons, it doesn't make sense to take the AP exam. And that's just part of like the willingness to be flexible and to understand how you're going to measure the value of each of these different parts of the equation. So more than these bullet points are sort of the obvious, like the surface level value of AP classes. But AP classes by themselves will not get you into college. They won't, right? And, I never want to see students get into this like race where they're taking as many AP classes as they can automatically without thinking about it. We don't want that. We want to have reasons for taking these classes. And one of the most important reasons should be in this certain AP class that you are considering to take, can you take that knowledge and the skills that you gain from that class? Can you elevate that to a higher level in some way? And if the answer is yes, then we know that taking this class has a very large amount of value. So next slide. Okay, so then we have clubs. And the clubs are even more of a becomes like a race to just collect as many clubs as possible. And I really want everyone to make sure that they try as hard as they can to leave that mindset. That is a mindset of the past. We want to choose specific clubs that have specific value that makes the student's journey richer, stronger, more interesting, more promising, whatever the case is. And so I have a couple clubs to talk about, or 3. And I'll start with these 2. So we have our drone club and we have the rocketry club. And so for the drone club, the first piece of this measuring the value is the competitive aspect, right? So in the same way that AP exam scores establish a competitive rank among all of the students who are applying to college every year, these competitions of these STEM-based clubs do a similar thing. So for the drone club, they compete in what's called the aerospace robotics competition. At Ivy Max, we have San Diego, Irvine, and Arcadia have branches of the drone club. And the San Diego club, actually right now, they are in Los Angeles because a couple weeks ago, they finished second in the San Diego region of the aerospace robotics competition. And so now they're in LA for the next level of competition. I hope that they're going to do well and that they can elevate the club and also themselves to that higher level to establish that competitive rank. Okay. There's also the value of what majors are going to become more viable and more valuable and more likely. So I won't say that a history major should never do the drone club. Of course not. But there are certain majors where a club like an activity like the drone club, it just makes more sense. So electrical engineering, computer science, data science, right? It fits that journey better. These clubs, if the experience goes well, the clubs are always going to be a very high candidate for being college essays. And, most teenagers, they need stories, right? College applications is really just a collection of stories that we're going to tell to the colleges to see if we can convince them that the student is someone that should be at that school. And so they need stories to tell. And so if we have people that are only or mostly in their class, in their school, there are just not that many stories to tell. So that is always one of the top values that we gain from these extracurricular activities, the clubs, is it gives you a story for your college essays, especially like the GPL program, like Spencer was talking about. And then lastly, there's the extracurricular on the activities list. So that's, an important part of the application. I think I'm pretty comfortable saying that most students tend to assume that the activities list isn't that important. You know, it's an afterthought or something that's secondary, and that's just not true. For the UC application, I always tell my students that the activities list is more important than one whole essay, and it's almost as important as 2 essays. It's like 1.5 roughly. So you need to have content for that activities list, because if you don't, then the colleges know that you are not engaging outside of the classroom. And that's the colleges, they have to see that, right? And so the question just becomes, what are the right choices, right? So we measure the value. For the Rocketry Club, so their competitive value is, and they participate in the American Rocketry Challenge. So Rocketry Club at Ivy Max is older than the Drone Club. The Drone Club is fairly new. It's been a couple years. Rocketry has been around since before COVID. And I remember the last year before COVID, they broke into the top 100 of the American Rocketry Challenge, and it's called ARC. So they have 800 teams that are qualifying as the competition, and the top 100 get to go to Washington, D.C. for the finals. And so the year before COVID, we had a top 100 team, and then last year our team was in the top 50. And so I can't say for certain that next year they're going to be top 25. I cannot predict that, but I do know that the momentum that they have been generating is on an upward curve. And I know that that means that any student who joins that club now has an opportunity to be part of something that is trending upwards. It's going to be up to the student to make that happen, but we can put them in that position, right? We can give them the opportunity and let them be the ones who bring it into the final result. So next slide. And so the big one I want, so this is a drone competition. The drones, it's essentially what the actual competition is about, is programming, and there is some like building and electrical processes, but mostly it's about the computer science side of it, of steering and training the drones to behave and according to the tasks that are required by the competition. And so it's fun, it's outdoors. In the San Diego chapter, we have one of the parents of a member is the team mentor, and he's an engineer, and he's added a tremendous amount of value to the club. And so parents always can bring value to everything that your child does, right? Doesn't have to be just about the students. So next slide. And then the rocketry. So like I said, we are on an upward trend with that. And it's a great activity for physics, for mechanical engineering. There is also some data science parts to it. It has a range of academic topics that fit with this club activity. And next. Okay, and lastly, this one is kind of like my passion project this past year. So the Tijuana River. We have our club, Non-Toxic San Diego, and it's been around for years. And we have other branches of it within Ivy Max. And they have, over the years, done a lot of really great things. And so I took it over. I became the mentor this year, right after the college applications. And that's always a time when the seniors have just finished their college, their essays and submitted everything. And so clubs tend to kind of be in a lull period. So I took over the club and I set a goal to transform what we were doing and to provide something that was going to engage a much larger range of students. So when it comes to these kinds of extracurriculars that will add value to your college applications, the part I want you to start with is underneath the photo. So we have a few sort of guiding strategies that are necessary. The things must be student driven, right? So it would be very easy for me to just dominate all of the meetings and tell everyone what to do. But when that happens, it doesn't end in the best result. We want to have the students find their own reasons, right? The why, their own why for what they're doing, okay? And that's a really important part because the Tijuana River, the crisis that's happening is ultimately, it's been happening for a decade. And the river, it starts in Mexico and then it switches over into the United States at the very end. And so the fact that it crosses over that border, that's what creates the problem, because we have two different governments that are trying to figure out what to do, and they don't necessarily have the best relationship right now. And so it's starting to become years and years and years of the problem getting worse, where all this pollution, industrial, toxic contamination, runoff from the urban areas of Tijuana going straight into the water, sewage overflows because the sewage facilities are not equipped to handle the amount of water that they're processing. And then at the very end, about a mile before the Pacific Ocean, it comes into the United States, and it's affecting communities and neighborhoods in like San Isidro and Imperial Beach. And so now it becomes an international problem. And so the fact that it is this very complex problem means, it guarantees that there will be many opportunities for students to find pieces that they are interested about inside of this crisis, right? So crisis is opportunity, and the more crisis we have, the more opportunity we have. So we chose the Tijuana project for non-toxic this year, and the students are starting to take over what we're doing. I don't know what the results will be. I didn't know 2 months ago. I probably won't know for another couple months. But I do know that because of how complex this problem is, the students themselves, they will be the ones to find things for their own interest, their own passions, that will become something that they do all summer and, you know, through the fall, hopefully, right? We'll have a different project next year. So the student-driven part is important. We want to turn their academic interests, turn it into inspiration for something new, something that has actual real impact and value, because that's what colleges need to see. Everyone can take a class and learn something, but how many students are actually turning that knowledge into something that is having an impact in the real world? That's what we're trying to do. We also have to set goals. And this was a really tough one for a lot of the students, because they've gotten used to, with these clubs and activities, and, you know, the truth is that at most schools, when you look at the list of the clubs that they have, half of those clubs, they don't actually even do anything. And another half of the half have no meaningful impact at all, right? So when you're evaluating the value of a club, what it adds, you have to think about, what are the goals of this club? What can it accomplish? And when I told the members of non-toxic I guess about a month ago, I told them that we were not going to be content with solving the crisis, right? There's no way that a group of teenagers can solve this international scale crisis that's happening at the border. And most of them were shocked when I said that, because they're not used to hearing that kind of thinking. But it's important, because if we let the students be satisfied with superficial activities and clubs, then the colleges will never learn anything important about the student in terms of what they're capable of, right? We have to find activities that force students to learn new things, new skills, and to grow and to think in different ways. And so, you know, the club is meeting tonight, and that's going to be one of the topics, is what our goals are going to be, because we're not going to solve the crisis. And we're not going to be content with only raising awareness, because that's vague, and, you know, what does that really accomplish? And so that's the challenge that we're dealing with right now, is to figure out, like, what is the actual goal? And I can't predict what it's going to be for each of the students, but I do know that there's something there, because this particular crisis that we're dealing with, it has something for, on the slide, it says an environmental justice project, and sure, that's fair, but it's more than that, right? It has something for students who are interested in biology and chemistry. right? There's water quality testing. There's endangered species that live in the Tijuana River watershed. One of the things I'm going to show you in a minute is that the American part of the Tijuana River is actually a very rare example of an estuary that is undisturbed by human activity. So it has, a very special potential for research. There's also physics involved, right? So I have 2 students who are probably going to be physics majors, and they would have never thought that a environmental club would have something for them. But one of the biggest issues this summer for the Tijuana crisis is the fact that the pollution, it's gotten into the soil. So we know that. But now there's a question of, is that pollution and contamination, is it jumping into the air? And if it jumps into the air, how far does it spread? And just last week, the mayor of Imperial Beach submitted a request to the CDC to begin a study, right? Now, I don't know what's going to happen with that request. I don't know what's going to happen with the research, but I do know that timing the students' investigation with the larger question of these other scientists and researchers asking the same thing, it must lead somewhere good. It will give the students a very clear understanding of why they're doing it, right? So goal oriented, and then building skills. So they're going to learn about environmental issues, but for different students, there's all kinds of different opportunities, right? So we have a social media campaign. We are going to be launching a whole new strategy that takes it to a completely different level in terms of analyzing the data of viewers and engagement, and basing our social media posts off of the algorithms that are available. And these are skills that are going to be useful for any student who's applying to marketing majors, anyone who's interested in graphic design, anyone who wants to study communications, right? For the social media component, telling a story is always a good skill. Most kids don't know how to tell a story. And so when you are applying to college, those essays are just stories. So the skills that they're going to learn this summer will translate, right? It's going to add value to their eventual college application. And then one of the most important parts I'm going to show in a second is most of the students this summer in the club are going to be learning GIS, which is digital map making. At Ivy Max, we have access to the software that is the most commonly used all over the world by governments and corporations and nonprofits. And several of the students have already started teaching themselves how to make GIS, how to use it to tell stories, how to use it to conduct research and understand data and use it in ways that are leading to a direct impact on the world. There's so many times where I have students that they get frustrated because they have all this knowledge, they're taking all these classes, they're learning so many things, but they don't know what to do with it. And GIS is an amazing tool for making their knowledge turn into something real. And then the last part is to connect and to collaborate. So when you're weighing the value of some kind of club or a class or any of those activities, what are going to be the connections and the collaborations that occur? In the non-toxic project that we're doing for Tijuana, we're already collaborating with it's actually a government organization that manages the American side of the estuary. So it's the Tijuana River National Estuary Research Reserve. And as it turns out, it is part of a nationwide network of 30 other or 29 other reserves that are of the estuaries in the United States that's managed by NOAA. And NOAA is the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. And they're one of the top scientific agencies that are part of the federal government, right? And so the work that they're going to be doing this summer is connecting them with that organization, right? We're going to be using some of their data that they have in some of their experiments, and it's giving the students an understanding of why, and it's giving them value for their activity. We also have collaborations with the Surfrider Foundation, which is a California nonprofit. They do advocacy. And on Monday, actually, we're going to, as a result of our collaborating with them, Surfrider Foundation is taking us on a tour of the Scripps Oceanic Center here in San Diego. We're going to go to one of their labs, and we get to see the scientists in action and understand like the work that they're doing there and how that translates into impact on the Tijuana River crisis, right? So there's value that's added there. Okay, so now I want to show the slide.
Sebastian, you would like to share this?
Yeah, I'd like to share, please. So I mentioned GIS before, and it's an amazing tool, and the students have started using it for making presentations and connecting with some of the other organizations that we're collaborating with. So I want to show what that looks like. And this is just a small piece of the overall package that's available through GIS. And it's this was something that one of our students made. It only took a couple hours, and we've used it to establish ourselves as being a cutting edge and legitimate group of students who are trying to make an impact on the world. And it's already yielding results. That the Surfrider invited us to go to the tour of the lab. We also have other partnerships with other agencies that are starting to take shape, and it's because of the stories, the way we tell them. So just going to show some of these features. This particular thing is, so Story Maps is basically a website builder, and it gives the users an exciting way to combine text and photos and videos and digital maps with a database that is connected to thousands and thousands and thousands of other digital maps that were made by actual researchers at colleges and corporations and government agencies for all kinds of research questions all over the world. And now our students can access that. They can add to that value, right? And so just for an understanding, this is the Tijuana River watershed. So it's actually a very, very large area. I think it's 2.5 million people who are affected, right? And so that helps us understand what is the impact of the work that we're going to do. And then here we have, this is the GIS component. And so just so that you can follow the story, the main issue is that in Tijuana, which is completely urbanized, there's concrete everywhere. Every time it rains, all of that water, that runoff, it just washes directly into this river channel. And it's so much water that we can't handle, the sewage facilities can't handle it. And so something like 300 days a year, the beaches of Imperial Beach are shut down because there's so much pollution, so many toxic and industrial contaminants that anyone who goes in the water, they get skin rashes. And that's how the Surfrider Foundation got involved, because Imperial Beach is one of the good surfing spots in San Diego. And so surfers started getting sick. They started having, infections just from going surfing. So Story Maps is, this, oh, wait, sorry. Oh, it's not going to do the animation. Oh, we're using too much bandwidth, but it's a interactive and engaging way. We're actually supposed to jump around from spot to spot. So I guess let's see what happens if I go here. So we see, yeah, so this is where the source is. And then here is the sewage treatment facility that it can't handle the capacity. And then we have, just north of this, we have communities. That question about, is the pollution jumping from the soil into the air? So there are people in the neighborhoods in San Isidro and Imperial Beach that have started to report getting sick, right? And so that's just to the north. And then we have the outflow into the Pacific Ocean that's in the United States, right next to Imperial Beach. So we have American level governments that are feeling the impacts and trying to figure out what we can do about it. And these kinds of tools it just makes it exciting for the students to get involved with, right? We're trying to translate their knowledge into something interesting, something that they can get involved with, something that they find engaging. And one of the big ways that we're going to engage, so this is the Tijuana River National Estuary Research Reserve. They have scientists on staff. They have a huge amount of data that's available And so we're already, accessing their data sets, where we've started conversations with some of their scientists. We're going to have, students who are biology and chemistry, they're going to start contributing to the water quality monitoring project that they have that is part of this nationwide system that's managed by NOAA. It's this nearly endless opportunity for students to find ways to get excited and to do something real with all this knowledge that we give them, right? And just to give you the idea of what the reserve system is, these are the 30 estuaries. And one thing to notice that here, San Diego, we're the only one in Southern California, right? So the Tijuana River, it's the only wetlands that we have. There's 6 in San Diego County, but only one of them doesn't have any roads or highways or railroads that cross it. So it's the only one that still functions as a natural wetlands cycling of the sediments and water and all of those processes. So that's why this one has been used as a pristine research environment. And so we get to be part of this much larger national effort. And if everything goes well, the GIS part of the program this summer will be part that we compete with. So they're making the documentary this summer to compete in a local project that's about community advocacy. And then if their story maps are good, we're going to try to compete in the national competition to, to see if we can establish some momentum there and build a clear way of adding value that students this year, next year, the year after, that they can join, that it will lead to somewhere good that we don't predict, we'll never be able to predict, but we do know the things that can be most likely to add value. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is to equip our students. And, this is what you should be looking for. This is what the students should be looking for. We cannot predict the end results. And if you try to, it's going to backfire. But we do know that we can choose the activities and the options that have the most value, and trust that if we all collaborate together and have open communication among the students, the parents, and the counselors, it will lead somewhere good. We give them the tools, they will do something amazing. Okay. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, and take this chance to thank you all our guest speakers. So let's start from here. I will grab this great opportunity to introduce our summer camp, one of the summer camp. This is Automata Striving's working with UC Irvine School of Engineering. So usually we recommend for students in grade 10 and 12, but now we reserved a few spots for interested high achieving grade 8 and grade 9 students. So take this chance, don't miss out. The summer camp starts July 8 to July 19. And also at the end of this program, any students participate and success, we will have the UC Irvine School of Engineering certificate. So everybody probably familiar with the commas. If you're not successfully apply the commas, how about this UC Irvine's School Engineering Summer Camp, and you will have the certificate. Very important tips. We have few spots left for grade 8 and grade 9 students. And then we will have the Generations Artificial Intelligence Summer Camp work with the UC Santa Cruz. The first session we closed, and then we have few spots available for second sessions. So for this summer camp, the major research field will be the rocket design, AI space explorations, drone technology, and AI intelligence detections. It's amazing opportunity. Students will go to the UC Santa Cruz campus to learn artificial intelligence, which is quite popular and faster growing. What's happening, especially in South Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, in Silicon Valleys. And then this is our Franklin Research Internship Program. In this program, we would like to pronounce for the 8 any student participate this program and will finish their paperwork, research topics. In August, we will have CASPA presentations to present students' research topics. So for CASPA, I will have another slides to introduce what is CASPA's Science and Engineer Fairs. But this is happening in August of this year. Okay, and again, we have our AP courses happening in summer. So any students who is not going to do any summer camp, or you will have a bunch of time in summer, we have AP courses, College Board approved AP courses, especially for AP seminar and AP research, which is for AP capstone programs. And we are the organizations can hold this type of AP courses. So meanwhile, we have AP courses and SAT boot camps happening in-person classes. During this summer, if you are consider in-person AP courses or SAT boot camps in person, this is happening in the Santa Cruz campus as well. And the students will have this great opportunity to focus on their testings. Especially if you will register the SAT test in August or in the October, please consider our boot camp in person. It's very useful for who is aiming to get a better score of the SAT. And then our unique summer programs, we have the global philanthropy program. This is helping students growing their leadership. And we have 4 locations throughout the world in the Costa Rica, Kenya, Africa, Nepal, and Hunan, China. So in 4 locations, our GPL programs have different subjects and focus. And also, many students from those programs were admitted to top universities such as Stanford, Harvard, MIT, Yale, Princeton, UPenn, and so on. Okay, so last but not the least, we have a student club sharing. It's amazing club that Ham Radio Club. We have the mentor Gideon. He's the greatest. He's leading our IVMAX student to participate the wireless sensor networks. So they're exploring the application of the radio communication in the real world scenarios. And those students are going to take the amateur radio license. If any student interested in STEM related subject majors for their applications, Ham Radio Club definitely the big value add into their profile. Okay, so now we come to the page of the CASPA. So as you can see from the explanation, CASPA is Chinese American Semiconductor Professional Associations. We work with them, and the CASPA will host a series of the events through the 2024. As you can see in the August, they will have the science engineering fairs happening. And as I mentioned earlier, Franklin research programs, any students participate or register the Franklin research program, their research paperwork will have the opportunity to presenting in the science and engineering fairs. So tomorrow, CASPA will host a kickoff. So you can see in the June 8th, from the 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. The kickoff is happening online. Anybody interested in this event, please scan the code on the top of the left poster and the right top. Okay, another interesting and a great opportunity to get involved in the civic engagement is students whoever close by the Fremont, and we will have the event to meet the mayor, and you will be able to access the volunteer training. So we will continue to announce a series of volunteer and internship opportunity at the launch party, and the participate students will earn the volunteer hours, which you can use for the President Volunteer Service Award. This is a great opportunity if you can grab your phone and scan the QR code and register it, and we will contact back. And then we have Spanish language club. I know today we have Spencer and Dr. Fang spoke a lot of the STEM related EAED and other very solid student club. But also we have student club more related to liberal. So if you have any chance, please stop by our language club location at Fremont, so you will talk and work with Dr. Angela Garben about more conversational Spanish, and then you will improve your language and to learn about the culture exchange. And also we have amazing club named Métis Club. So Métis Club is helping the students to helping those low-income tea farmers from Hunan, China, and they have a bunch of the great opportunities and ideas to present their small business. This is a student club have been running many years, and the students are practicing their leadership, presentation skills, and other very important skills during this student club.
Hi, Gia. Sorry for interrupt because from my side the slide seems not moving. Can you double check it?
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, sorry for that. Let me modify the. Can you see now?
Yes, right now. You can make it more bigger or
Yeah, of course. So in which page I should start presenting again? Maybe Métis
yes, I think the Métis, yeah.
or the Spanish or the civic engagement. Yeah, I can start from here. Okay. Thank you for reminding. So for this civic engagement, if you want to scan the QR code to apply, please do. And then, okay, can you see the Spanish language club now?
Right now it's called the Fremont Volunteer Trainings.
Oh, so once I start presenting, it's not working. Okay. So I probably just do this. Okay. And the Métis is this one.
Yeah, I can see the Métis slides.
Okay. And the last one I'm going to presenting the student club is the Join the Kenya. So Join the Kenya's students involved in this student club for the online teachings, and they'll do the tech talk presentations, and then also they will help the online store and the fundraisings for those kids or low-income communities in Kenya. And also they were managing social media account to influence more people come to help and also donate. It's more like fundraising opportunities as well. Okay, so as most parents know, we have dedicated to Asian American student parents. Those book is usually very useful for your kids writing the essays. I'm sorry to using the words of kids, but also I would like to say to helping the student writing the essays, especially if you want to apply a good school, you should very learning to be an expert to writing essays, right? Okay. And then we have the AVMAX Foundation. So if anyone might interesting to support us and to helping those local low-income communities, please scan the code or just like contact to each learning center where you close by. Also, so we have our WeChat account. Every week we will presenting and we will posting interesting stories and case studies and different type of the tips. Most of them application tips and application trained, and what you would want to know about the application prepare, and other volunteer or student club related to leadership and other type of subjects. We will constantly presenting in our WeChat and also in our literate book and also Instagrams. So if you want to take a little bit time here, pause here to scan the QR, please go ahead. Okay, so I know time passing. This is our last page. Thank you all for coming to our webinar today. And thank you our main speakers, Spencer and Sebastian. And thank you for our staff, Tianyang. And if you have some other questions, you can just like unmute yourself, or you can leave your questions in the chat box. Otherwise, we will stop here. Do we have other questions? Okay, so we have questions in the chat box. Our staff has been responded, but I will still mention it. So it's asking, is EA or ED better or more beneficials? I think we can take like 2 to 5 minutes if any one of our speaker could take these questions.
Oh, I thought Tian already answered it, right?
Yeah, so yeah, would you like to like add more, or we can jump into next question?
Well, I mean, with you want me English or Chinese? With both, each has well, the advantage of EA is that you're going to learn about the result earlier. That's about it. And EA, like including the schools I already mentioned, UIUC, Purdue, Santa Clara, Pepperdine, you have a slightly higher chance, but not that big. So I agree with what Tianyang wrote there. It depends on the situation. With Michigan, except it's Ross School of Business, not really, not much difference. Another thing is that yes, that's a good question. EA and RD, those are not, okay, let me yes, you can do both EA and RD. Okay. 我看到刚才还有一个问题就是说 okay, let me summarize the question. EA, ED, RD, right? With EA and ED, 你有3种可能的 option. 第一呢 reject, 那 RD 也没有了 OK, defer 那就是推到那个 RD regular round, right? 然后accept, admit, voila, right? You don't have to worry about that, right? Yes, you can do both EA and RD. That's totally fine. The only tricky thing is ED because it's binding. It's binding. And there are ways, what do we say, 跳票, we can get off that, but it's a bit tricky. You have to, you have to say, okay, mostly it's because of financial. I can't afford, your school's too expensive. Well, I mean, that's good leverage. You can get more money from them if they really want you. And this turn to the other question. No, I mean, Sebastian, you can correct me. Blue Chip is asking if E is rejected, can students still apply for RD? My impression is no.
Okay,
Oh,
which one
Sebastian, you are mute.
Sebastian, you are mute.
I'm not 100% sure about my answer.
Okay, there. Okay. So
Yeah.
if you get rejected EA or ED, you're done. That's it.
Yeah, that's my
Usually you get deferred. And
Yes.
so, if it's like borderline, they're looking at your stuff and you're okay, but they don't love it, they're just going to defer you. So USC is famous. They just defer almost everybody. So it's like you're starting over again.
Yeah.
And so something I want to add about the earlier question is that you're not penalized for being deferred, right? It's not like you're automatically, it's more difficult to get acceptance in the RD round, but there is a sort of like a little bit of like implied disadvantage in the fact that if you apply early, especially for the ED round, you're usually up against the best and brightest students. So you're competing against the best. So it's going to be sometimes harder to get in the early rounds. And so if you don't qualify for that first round, the college won't, they're not like going to penalize you, but they already know that you didn't beat the best. And so sometimes, in certain cases, that can mean that you should have just waited. So it's not a direct penalty, but it can end up being that way.
Yeah. So last year, REA, because Harvard only had REA, even has REA. So 8%, 8.7% got in. That's like over 9,000 kids applied, and they only admitted like I think 800 or 1,000, something like that. Those information you can Google it. It's all online because one of my students got deferred, and he's so proud because he didn't get rejected. The early round in general doesn't matter. It's REA or ED or EA. It has a much higher chance of getting in just because, like, I think one of the parents also mentioned, the pool of the candidates or the applicants, they are so tough, so high caliber. So don't be frustrated, but yeah, I agree with Sebastian. It implied, we didn't get in the first round. There are, those kids who got in the second round and so on. And everything considered, from the official statistics and what Harvard said on its website, it says, in terms of the standards, criterions they use to make students, they're same. But then again, just because of the strength of the pool of the early round of applicants. But then again, that's REA. With ED, there's additional incentive for the schools to get you is because admit you is because it's funding. You have to get in. Okay.
Okay, sounds great. So I think we will stop here today, and thank you again. Have a good night. Bye.